Content warning. The following show contains smoking, discussions of fictitious violence, discussions of social behaviors that might make some people feel attacked, some potty mouth language, and of course, strange opinions from a strange little man. Either way, we say what we say out of experience and instruction, and we have no wish to offend. But with all that being said, viewer discussion is advised. You know, I'm pretty sure that they know that we don't mean to offend anyone. Yeah, I know, but just put that out there. I'm sure there are live streamers out there that are like, yeah, guess what? You're one of my subscribers. We're going to attack you. Should we be having this talk right now? Yeah, good point. Anyway, start the music. Hey everybody, what is going on out there today in TV land, I suppose you can call it, or on the internet? I am Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, and I am coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And welcome, my friends, to the dark side of the room, where this is the show where we talk about so many things, and guess what? It's Friday, so that means we're going to be featuring a game, talking about a really big subject. And again, the games that we talk about and feature and stuff like that, we do it primarily so that you guys might actually see some stuff that you might like pick up and try over the weekend. So with all that being said, let's get started on the show. However, if you guys got any questions or comments or anything like that, well, it's real simple. You've got two options. One, you can leave a comment right here, okay, right there, in the chat, and I can talk to you. I think I've been live on YouTube. I'm not quite sure about that. But, yeah, with all that, like I said, you can leave a comment right here. Like right here, in this space, right here. Or you can send me an email at twitch.tv/bid_p, or should I say back on the deck at gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK at gmail.com. You can also reach out to me on my X called Twitter, and you can easily do that at the same email address that's back on the deck at gmail.com. Same with the Instagram. What? Oh yeah, that's right. Doing all those social medias. And of course, if you guys are on the Clock app like I am, then just look up BidP. That's BIDPY. And why? Yeah, why the hell not? Anyway, with all that stuff, yeah, let's get it started. Now, I do have to remind you guys that guess what? All right, so we're talking about a lot of stuff. I'm getting the coffee and you're going, what the crap? Dude, it's like 8:30 at night in California. All right, that means like 7:30 in Hawaii and much later everywhere else. What are you doing getting coffee this late, especially since you're 46 years old? That means you're going to be up all night. And yeah, because I have a lot of editing and a lot of work I have to do before going back to work tomorrow. All right, some people say rise and grind. I don't rise, but I grind most of the night. So let's get the show started. All right, now apologies for the late hour that I'm coming up on today. I actually got called into my day job and I had to work from noon to 6 today. But as you guys know, I live not just in California, but I live in Los Angeles, and we are famous for three things: the movie industry, flaky people, and some of the worst traffic in the world, like on the whole planet, okay? I literally work 7 miles from where I live, and within that 7 miles, it literally took me 90 minutes to get home. Okay, seriously, I could have walked and been home faster. Um, but that's just the price I pay for having things like bills. Speaking of bills, though, okay, because yeah, there's a couple other things. What y'all thought? Y'all thought you were gonna get out of here without me trying to advertise something? No, I'm sorry, can't quite do that. But before we take our first commercial break, I am gonna say if you guys find any value in what we do, and you want to make sure that I'm not stuck living on a diet of cereal and pencil shavings, feel free to leave us a donation here. And the last link that I just put in the chat for today is a link to our merch store. What? That's right, we've got merch. All right, all about that merch. Let me just make sure that I can pull up the right merch store here. There we go. Yeah, just check it out over at T Public. That is our hoodie. It comes in a lot of different colors. Oh, what is all that? And yeah, it's $40 right now. And to tell you guys the truth, I don't really get a big cut off of that. But we also have the mugs, which is my personal favorite. And of course, t-shirts in various colors. We got the whites, we got the greens, we got the various other things. Hey, there we go. The back of the deck blue. This is literally like one of my favorite colors. And of course, the color that I wear every day. Oh, well, yeah, it's doing that thing. But yeah, so I haven't restarted my computer. And there we go. There's the advertisement that it throws out for you. And yeah, so that is some of the stuff that you guys can do to help me, well, what's the term I'm looking for? Not have to live on a diet of pencil shavings and post-it notes. And yeah, I'm literally not kidding. That was, yeah. But now that we got that going, what are we talking about today? Well, if you guys tuned in, and I'm looking at you, Sofa King, what is going on? The royalty of furniture. All of the living room furniture. That's right. Because he really is Sofa King. Super. We are going to be talking about a couple of things, all right? Because I had an experience. As you guys have probably figured out, I've been doing a lot more stuff on social medias, on TikTok. I've been trying to post every day on social media, specifically Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, because that's what I hear you're supposed to do. And so, you know, I'm working it out. I'm doing all the editing and all that jazz. And of course, I got into a great discussion. Now, one of the clips that came up was me talking about something. It was a clip from Monday's show, I believe, where I talked about the unfairness of people watching YouTube and stuff for free, making 100,000 comments on the production value of the free videos. Oh God, what? What do you want? Oh, I know. You want to be put on Do Not Disturb. That's what you want to be put on. All right. I mentioned on how I think it's pretty unfair for people that are getting free content to be asking for the free stuff that they get to be the top of the line content. And one or two people actually said something and they were like, yeah, you know, I'm right there too. Because real talk, guys, all of this takes a lot of years of training to get really good. I literally have thousands of dollars of equipment between the decent cameras, the decent microphones, the sound interface, the computer, the video cards, and all that jazz that goes along with this, not to mention the hours and hours and hours we put in for research on every topic we talk about, okay? And I still put out substandard stuff. And it's actually funny. I haven't done an anniversary stream, but I looked up and I realized I've been doing this 10 years. I'm like, what? I have been able, what is going on, Daryl? I cannot believe I have been getting in front of a camera and ranting at people about games and toys and nerd stuff for 10 years. So here's to another 10 years. Hopefully a more profitable one. I kind of write off the last 10 years as training. And I know that sounds a little silly, but what I can tell you is that this field of video streaming and YouTubing, it evolves like crazy. And if you, like me, have to have a day job every once in a while, it's really easy to get swallowed up and left behind. Like, seriously. If you don't believe me, think about how much you knew about music before you had a full-time job. You know, last time I really loved music, Hey Ya from Outkast was in the top 100. You know what I mean? Hell, it was in the top 3. So that's like a real thing. So, but yeah, turns out I've been doing this 10 years. And I seriously want to give a shout out to a lot of the people that have had my back. Like Glenn Couch, Daryl, Neon Arlecchino, Xanathades, Clever Little Vixen, Vision Vendor, Oleander Princess. Who else am I missing? I think it's Pamela Isley. You know, the Dig Duggernaut, the Viking, you know, all the people that have helped me get this far. You know, not gonna lie, I'm still feeling a little emotionally sore and George Bailey-ish. So I didn't talk about it on the show. But yeah, December was a little rocky because I wasn't making enough money to pay my mortgage and my house went into foreclosure. And I had to start a really, really big campaign to make sure that I didn't end up living on the streets. And folks came through, and I'm like, wow, I feel like George Bailey. Oh my God, and Clarence. And the fact that it happened at Christmas means that I can't watch It's a Wonderful Life without crying like my ex-girlfriend used to cry every time she saw Bridget Jones's Diary. You know who you are. Now, but today, since I had to get to such a late start, because like I said, I got home maybe at 10 minutes after 8, and I had to take my notes from yesterday, arrange them, pull up all the stuff that, you know, all the stuff that goes into making a show. So when we get back, we're going to talk about the post that I put up on TikTok and the conversation I got into. I would take you guys through the conversation bit by bit, but the result of the conversation was fun. So stay tuned. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. My hang on here, creator dashboard. My little thing to say, hey, I need to run a commercial isn't actually here coming up. So, stream manager, there it is. There's my little commercial thing. So we'll be back in a minute. All right. Cool. And of course, hey, what's going on, Knights of G? Yeah. I know, super late. You might be late to the stream, but I'm late putting the stream on. And I know I can talk to you about this, and of course Daryl about this, because for those people that don't use Jeff Bezos' money to subscribe to this channel, they're watching commercials right now. But we are going to be featuring a game today. And it's actually one of my favorites, and we're going to get to that. But the big first segment that we're going into is one that I talk about a lot, but we're really gonna get into it because I did some more psychological studies. I talked to a couple of therapists. Yeah, I might repeat subjects, but think about every time I bring up the same subject that I did like 2 or 3 months ago as a part 2, part 3. And we are back. What is going on, everybody? So now that we're back, Got the fresh cuppa. Mmm. And yeah, oh, got a goodie today going into a game store slash comic store. Um Hit it up in the comments in the later section of the show, and we will talk about it when I do the QA slash AMA section. So I want to talk about gatekeeping. All right, there's a lot of gatekeeping and a lot of elitism. Now, before we went on break, I talked about an interaction that I had on TikTok regarding one of my posts. All right, and essentially, I put up the little clip of me talking to you guys about how I thought it was unfair that people who watch free content on YouTube and don't pay any money, don't sign up for Patreons and all that stuff, um, get snobbish and demand that their stuff be high quality 4K with tracking shots, dolly shots, and all of that jazz. And I'm like, but you're not paying anything. This is literally free content. And I don't think that it's fair, specifically because of what I got into an argument with someone a little bit later. So one person, I hope he's watching, liked what I had to say and followed me on TikTok, and I'm like, yeah, sweet, another follower. But the next person was like, well, look, man, when the best people out there, because I mentioned a lot of guys like Play on Tabletop, all of the theory channels from Matthew Patrick, the people that have been on YouTube for coming up on 20 years now. It's so weird that YouTube is 20 years old now. And they were like, yeah, we'll see, they're raising the game. And I'm like, I just don't think that it's fair making the best in the field the minimum expectation. Because that essentially says to people that unless you are as good a comic artist as Jim Lee, don't bother learning how to draw. If you're not as good a filmmaker as Steven Spielberg, put that camera down because you'll never be good, you know? If you're not as good a bass player as Victor Wooten or James Jameson, put down that piece of wood. You know, go dig a ditch, go scrub a toilet. But if you're not as good as scrubbing a toilet as the maid that I wanted when I was growing up and my dad worked down at the docks, don't bother cleaning anyway. You see where that goes? I know I'm doing the slippery slope argument. Okay. But I definitely get the whole idea of I want top value for my money. Okay. I do get that. And for the people that subscribe to stuff and join Patreons, one of the reasons I don't make that much money is because I don't push people to jump on Patreon to tell me what to write about or to tell me what to talk about. Not at this point. I'm still building. So it's like, hey, join the Patreon at patreon.com/BID_P if you want to help me do this full time. And once I do this full time, then I can start taking in suggestions after I don't have to go to a day job where I work my body to death. After I can hire editors, and after I can upgrade my equipment and clean out my studio to where I can have it to a point where not only can I have a co-host that I pay, but I can start having some of you guys that are in the LA area come in and watch the show live. Like that's my big dream. But until that day, I can't quite take any advice on production from people that aren't already filmmakers and have the gear or the time to help me get the gear or train me in how to use the software that is ever evolving. All right. But there is a sense of exclusivity and elitism in online stuff and in the nerd community. Okay. And this elitism takes place in two different ways, but I'm going to be commenting on each one. I remember when I was younger, all right, as you guys know, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. And that means this, okay? I am older than CGI, and the practical common use of AI. I'm also older than the internet. What does that mean? That means that 90% of what I watched until I was in my 20s were practical effects. Okay? And we used to make fun of practical effects because we understood sometimes you get a nookie and sometimes you get the thing. You know, we came to expect perfection from filmmakers that were already up there. You know, if John Carpenter was doing a movie with a budget, the effects were going to be on point. If Cronenberg was going to do a movie, you know, and there was huge jump in quality between Videodrome and The Fly, you know, but it was all practical effects. And when CGI first hit, it was not great. It was astounding because it was novel, okay? But it was not great. And what do I mean that by it was not great? Mostly everything, well, how can I put this? There were two 30-minute cartoons that featured CGI, okay? Two of them. The first one was Battletech with enhanced imaging. And the second one was Reboot. And we saw Battletech with their enhanced imaging and we were like, oh my God, look at that. They're using CGI. We were jazzed that they were using it. And when Reboot first came out, oh my God, it blew our minds. You know, real talk, it was written really well, so that was a bonus. But it looked like something we'd never seen before, and it was novel. Okay. Now, when we would sit down at the D&D table, 90% of our games were dungeon delves. Okay? You went into the dungeon, you stabbed a bunch of monsters, you cast a bunch of spells, you took a lot of loot, and you came back and you did it again next week. Okay? And I hate to sound like old man yelling at clouds, because that was the best we had! And we liked it when we were walking uphill both ways to get to school, where teachers would just kill us stone dead before asking for our homework. You know, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is we got, wow, I say Reboot. You guys are like, yeah, Reboot. Let me say that again. See if we can get some more views. Reboot. I was there when it was new. You know, and when the little guy compiled on the internet and came back looking like a post-apocalyptic super dude, I'm like, what? Anyway, Reboot. The cartoon, not the movie practices. But yeah, so when I was growing up, you know, we saw the gradual use of CGI, but the best that we had that wasn't practical was claymation. And but nowadays, it seems like the expectation is to be transported into these different worlds and to watch everything for free as if nothing was there. Yay! Thank you. Thank you very much, Knights of G. Woohoo! Oh, man. Let's see. If I say it again, maybe somebody else will give that many cheers. Reboot. No, but, you know, and I don't mean the new RoboCop because I'm kind of talking about the old RoboCop. You know, when I watched the old RoboCop in the theaters, first time I saw boobies in a regular movie. And I say regular movie because, you know, I didn't have to find it underneath the sofa where my brother hid his videotapes. If you know, you know. Ed 209 was claymation. It was stop motion animation, you know. And it moved all clunky like Jason and the Argonauts. And it had charm. But Reboot came out, and we knew that it was CGI. It looked CGI, and it was awesome. And then came Jurassic Park. Dude, I don't care what people say. 30 years later, that movie still looks amazing. But a lot of people have this elitist gatekeeping attitude of if CGI doesn't look if CGI doesn't look as good as it did in Lord of the Rings, don't bother making a movie. If you can't run a D&D game at least as good as Matt Mercer, a veteran published novelist, actor, voice actor, producer, executive producer, and TV guy, along with the rest of his cast, which are legacy entertainment people. Okay? What do I mean legacy? I mean they are second and third generation entertainers. Okay? Some of the people in the first Critical Role cast have family members going all the way back to bleeding vaudeville. All right? They know how to be entertaining. Storytelling was what they did at home to other writers while they were growing up. Okay? So to expect 18-year-old high school kid whose parents work down at the docks and another one is a nurse to write stories as well put together, well structured, well rehearsed, well voice acted is madness. But it's there. Okay? But what is this? Well, I was watching a friend of mine's live stream yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Shouts out to Tanya, the War Mistress. And the conversation of elitism came up, and she was getting a little uncomfortable, which is fair, because it got into some serious political stuff. And she had to back out the conversation, and I threw out a solution that didn't involve, hey, come down and watch my stream, because that's rude to do on your friends' platform. Okay? If you guys are going to be doing, like, your own channels and stuff, yeah, seriously speaking, don't go on your friends' channels advertising, especially when they have bigger followers than you. That's not cool. Let them mention you. Don't mention yourself. Life advice from an old wizard. Anyway, but a lot of that stuff came up within the sphere of, her stream is primarily about Warhammer 40K. And as you guys know, we hit the whole nerd gambit, all right? Because I put this channel together to address gatekeeping. All right. Now I'm going to tell y'all a story. I can start by reciting one of my favorite songs growing up. Ready? My mother, she was a tailor. All right. I'm dead serious. My mom was a tailor. She had her own clothing line. And I've been sewing since I was like 9. Okay. And I stopped cosplaying primarily because I got tired of being the black fill in the blank. Like when I was Spider-Man, it was pre-Miles Morales. So I was Black Spider-Man? Oh, you must be Rhodey. I'm like, no, I'm Iron Man. A black Superman? A black Dr. Orpheus? I'm like, guys, y'all need to stop. Okay? But one of the things that I've seen, not nearly as much race discrimination as I've seen a bunch of body shaming and skill shaming within a lot of the spheres, this elite idea has really, really been a big problem within the nerd spaces, okay? A lot of you guys might know I'm a musician, okay? I play the bass guitar. No, please don't quote "I love you, man" at me. Really don't. It is really annoying. And Dave Grohl, lead singer of the Foo Fighters, former drummer of Nirvana, the band that changed rock and roll in the year of 1992. Trust me, I was there. And we literally went from the Metallica Black album, Exit Light, to listening to a dude sing while he was having stomach ulcers, Honey, is it friend? Both of them good. Both of them still on my playlists, But Dave Grohl said whenever you start anything new, like you're going to pick up a musical instrument, you're going to suck at it. The key is to keep going. Keep playing. You'll get better. Keep GMing. you'll get better. And when it comes to this, there is a certain psychology. And the psychology of it, I find, comes from status obsessed cultures. Now, yeah, I know I just got into something real big, right? Now, uh, I have a friend who hates it when I use the WP statement. Thank you. See, I have stomach problems too. So I can tell you where bad folks go when they die. Anyway, still working on my Eddie Vedder. The way I can figure, it's kind of a goat doing an impression of Elvis. You know, so you kind of get the "oh, you know. Ooh, see, that keeps coming out every time I do a Pearl Jam song, which is really fun at karaoke. Where was I? Oh yeah. So I was talking about status based societies. Okay, status based cultures. I talk often as a man without a country. You know, I'm Generation X. I grew up in the hood. I went to school in the suburbs. Okay. And I noticed a lot of stuff there. Okay. Status obsessed cultures have one major thing in common that helps me not hate them. And that is in the United States, every member of a status based society sees themselves in two ways. Excuse me, either really, really high up or really low down. Okay? What do I mean by that? I knew a lot of people when I was going to school in Southern California's beautiful San Fernando Valley that would literally duck down in the back seats of their parents' cars when their parents would bring me to my house because they were afraid of getting shot by gangs. Okay? They were so above the hood that they couldn't be seen there. They were in danger, although they knew nothing about it. Okay? But if I ever said something like they're rich, they're like, no, I'm broke. I'm struggling. Blah, blah, blah. I don't have advantages, you know. But their standards are interesting. Really, really interesting. I used to take my friends from the $100,000 a year tax bracket, and keep in mind this was the 80s and the 90s, so that much money meant a lot more. Okay, I would take them to downtown LA to go fabric shopping when it was time to get our costumes together for Ren Fair, right? Mm-hmm. Seriously, that was like doctor level salary, you know. And my friends were born into these lifestyles, okay? But we would be in downtown Los Angeles, which is weird. Gloriously weird. Because from block to block, you might have a homeless colony, then you might have where all the rich people get their stuff made, to where you'll have last season's high fashion all over the place in outlet stores. You'll have this season's high fashion on super sale before the season starts, before it hits the runway. But you'll also have drug addicts, homeless people, stray animals, vigilantes that are jumping from rooftop to rooftops. It is wild, depending on what time of day. And one of my favorite places is essentially the 3rd Street Market. And it's an indoor market that has a bunch of fresh produce, because downtown LA is where most of the produce is, I guess you can say, sorted and distributed to the stores in LA and Orange County. It, like I said, it's wild, okay? So you can get anything down there. And my friends were like, "Oh my God, it's so dirty. Oh, it's weird. Why does that guy smell like acetone? Why does that guy smell like pee? Oh my God, these are class B establishments." I'm like, yeah, come on, guys. It's not a big deal, you know. And the ones that were willing to eat at, say, class B establishments had the best food that they'd ever tasted. And we were going down there getting costume jewelry, and I knew all the guys. And it's like, oh, well, we'll give you everything you're looking for if you fix our ladder. And again, everything I'm telling you happened, okay? Between the years of 1994 and 2003, this was how I spent the beginning of almost every spring. And my super duper elite friends who were afraid to go into those dark parts saw that being bougie, being elite, being status obsessed was literally costing them 60 to 70% more than if they understood janitor theory. Okay. Oh, well, what's janitor theory, Solar? Oh, it's simple. Most people think that the most powerful person at a corporation is the CEO, but the CEO doesn't have keys and codes and everyone's secrets. Okay? That's the janitor. you know, I learned that first from the Breakfast Club and then doing community service, being assistants to my janitors at every school I went to because I got a lot of tickets for hopping on the bus without paying. So I went from the fat kid that no one liked to the dude that had all the access codes to the teacher's computer and the keys to every locker. Was I drunk on power? No. But the fact is, it was like all there. Okay, it was seriously all there. That was a lot of the stuff that we were doing. But a lot of folks that are born into higher status have this thought process that they are normal. And what happens is that the floor gets raised as their ceiling gets raised. So what does that mean? Well, that means if they play D&D, they will not settle for a game any less than Dimension 20. That's a really high floor. Okay, a really high floor. Because if you start at Dimension 20 or Critical Role, there's nowhere to go but up. But most people aren't writers at that level or actors at that level. They don't spend years in schools learning performance and public speaking. So what do? They spend most of their time critiquing, or as I like to say, complaining. It's something that I see in people in their 20s that I've seen ever since I was in my 20s, which is passing down abusive behavior with the intention on pushing people to make them better. And if you're not new to the channel, then you know how I feel about that. Now, there is a second level of gatekeeping from status-based cultures, and that is from the disenfranchised parts of the status having. What do I mean? I mean, if I were to put this in the economic state, the lower middle class, okay? The ones that grew up in nice neighborhoods with decent houses, but their parents were always broke, they were always worried about paying bills, and they were scared to death of having to move to the ghetto, okay? Those of us that were in the ghetto, we saw them as rich, but they only saw their own struggling. These are the same people that you see in comment sections saying, "What, those people down there don't have it bad? I work down there and I saw inside their houses and they got better cars than me and bigger TVs." I'm like, then why don't you move down there? You know, come on down. One of the houses on the block, actually 3 of the houses on our block are for sale. Come on, move down. And these are people that literally don't know how good they have it because they've never seen worse. Okay? And again, I say all this stuff because this is how I find compassion for them. One of my ride or dies comes from this thing. He remembers the stress. He remembers the stress of not being able to pay his bills, the stress of making too much to get public assistance, but not having enough to not need assistance, that kind of thing. And this used to manifest itself in some pretty toxic behavior from a lot of folks, okay? And that toxic behavior closes the door. What do I mean? Well, I came to the realization not very long ago that I was trained by elitist gamers. Okay. And what do I mean? Well, my ideology and philosophy is this: I busted my butt, got beat up a lot, got into a lot of fights, had to endure prayer circles, was even accused by my own grandmother of being possessed by a demon because she found my comic collection and my role-playing books. Okay. I went through all that on my journey as a nerd. And my thought is, I want to make sure that those who come up behind me don't have to. Okay? I got through that door and I'm cramming it open because that sucked. Okay? That really sucked. Nobody should have to endure having books slapped out of their hand and then being hit with those same books by people. Hey, what you reading for? Insert epithet here. And there are some people that look at that behavior going, well, I went through it. That's the rite of passage. That's just how this hobby is done. So I should, so now it's my turn. The people coming up, if they really want it, they go on to that no true Scotsman fallacy. Well, a real gamer would put up with all that and keep playing anyway. A real gamer would look past their dyslexia and learn Thaco. A real gamer. And I'm like, guys, stop. just stop. Okay, just stop it. All right. I don't care how somebody got to the party. I'm like, have a drink now that you're here. All right. But I show up to parties with like, tour buses saying, all right, everybody, let's all go in. Yeah. And the status-based societies that I'm talking about put a higher price on elitism than they do on enjoyment. A lot of the stuff that we do, the mini gaming, the cheesy movies, the tabletop gaming stuff, that requires other people. And yet, counterintuitively, as time goes on, I'm seeing a lot more of us fall down a very dangerous path of limiting the people that we have access to beyond safety, and into effortless comfort. Okay? What do I mean by that? I mean, getting to know people takes effort. Making friends. Yeah, take effort. Hey, Daryl. It takes effort. And a lot of the times it takes a little bit of discomfort because none of us are perfect, which means sometimes some of us are anuses. And that counts for me too. I'm still learning ways that I scare people out of the hobby. I'm working on it. I'm working on things being more open. But now we have people that are more forthcoming with their reservations for doing stuff. Okay. I believe it was 2 weeks ago, I did a show on what the average American girl in Southern California looks for when they talk about gaming versus what the average dudes do. Because a lot of the girls that I've role played with and GM'd for are really big on the role-playing aspects. They want to have interactions with NPCs and focus on stories and solve puzzles and things like that. Where dudes want to stab it. They want to stab it and take its stuff. Yes, it's a gross generalization. Stop adding me. Well, not every single one. Look, not every single person is lactose intolerant. Okay? Okay. Let's see here. Daryl says, I get that because people forget that the show was just in someone's house. Then, on top of that, people tend to do that with games as well. If it ain't what they're used to seeing, then it's not for them. Exactly, you know? He also goes on to say, I was in the past with that last one. Didn't realize I wasn't in live. I have no idea what you mean by that. Are you saying that in the past you were one of those guys? Um, I think that's what you're saying, but I'm not sure. I know I was because the way that we initially learned something has the largest chunk of our belief systems. Okay, this is straight up psychology. Okay, straight up psychology. If the first group of people that you're with is your first exposure to something, chances are, yeah, that's what you think that thing is going to be. So if your first exposure to heavy metal is death metal, then you're going to hear thrash and think this isn't metal. If your first intro to hip hop is 50 Cent, then if you listen to Big Daddy Kane, you're going to be like this ain't hip hop, where it's all that stuff because things evolve, people change, and all that other stuff comes up. So that is a really, really big thing. Um, Now, when we get back, we're going to go into our game feature. Okay, we are going to go into our game feature because this one is a fun one. Okay, this is a really fun game, and it can be played both head to head and cooperative. So stay tuned, and we'll see you guys in about a minute. I would say in 2 and 2, but those aren't my commercial breaks. Oh, it wasn't live on the stream, so when I made that first post, I was behind. Gotcha! Yeah, sometimes I forget to hit that little live button on YouTube as well. It's a weird one. So, yeah, I'm gonna check the Discord for some questions. Let's see what we got here. Nothing. All right, cool. I used to get upset about that, and I'm like, oh well, that's just less work. Um, but yeah, so when it comes to that whole status thing, I try and remind my friends that every time they think that they're at the bottom, they should really take a look at their shoes. You know, um, because I promise there's always someone on a lower rung than you are, wishing to be where you are. Okay, wishing. I didn't think about that until I was in my 30s. But we're about to come off a break, so we'll talk about that later. Okay, guys, how you doing? So today's game feature is from one of my favorite writers. Okay, seriously, one of my favorite writers, Joseph A. McCullough's Stargrave. Okay, ooh, Stargrave. This is a cool game. If you guys are familiar with Frostgrave, one of its first iterations, then you're familiar with this game. The game mechanics are very cool, but we're going to break down a little bit of it back and forth. Now, what this is a science fiction war game in a ravaged galaxy. Oh, man, I love saying stuff like that. All right, now, Stargrave is actually a really inexpensive game. If you buy it straight from the company, you have it at about $35 for the hardback book. All right, $35, which is awesome. The PDF will cost about $24, $25. And it is a great, okay? It is a really, really great game. It's not that thick. We are looking at 172 pages, all right, of tiny, tiny book. This literally fits in any backpack. And I found that I could actually run this game for people about 11 years old. Okay, it's really cool. No, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Okay, $25, and y'all know how I am about games. The game comes with cards. It comes with templates. All right. that are right in there. And essentially, all the cards and stuff that you have in there for your quick reference. And essentially, the way that this game works out is you are an away team. You are a team of space explorers, and you're on a planet. Your main miniature is the captain, and then you get to pick their crew. It's really that easy. Now, if you don't like that kind of bookkeeping, and I'm not a big fan of that bookkeeping, well, this game is also available on Battlescribe. Battlescribe, not sponsored content, by the way, is actually a free army builder that has army building software for dozens of games. In fact, it's one of the main tools that are used by Warhammer 40K players. Because who wants to spend $50 on a codec? Where's that thing I dropped? Always dropping something. You know, that's what it's like getting old. Hang on, guys. Almost found it. Anyway. There we go. So where was I? Yeah. So Stargrave, published by Osprey Games, is one of my favorite ways to play a miniatures game. Okay. Number one, it is what's called model agnostic. Woo! Model agnostic. Now, model agnostic is one of my favorite terms. Favorite terms. Because you're not locked in. Yeah, you're literally not locked in to using any specific set of miniatures. Okay? Can we print things and use them? Yes, you can print things and use them. In fact, this game even says if you want to use cardboard standees, use cardboard standees. Okay? Real talk. Osprey Publishing makes sure that their writers and stuff get paid from people buying the books. They're a game company, not a miniatures company. All right? But when you use the rules, you can easily have a setup of a captain, a first mate, and about 8 soldiers, roughly. Yeah, roughly 8 soldiers. Okay? And each of the soldiers have various skill sets. They come at certain point values, just like every other miniatures game. However, you can run a campaign mode where you keep notes and buy upgrades for your crew members, for your captain. This is in the same vein as Rangers of Shadowdeep, which I love, and Frostgrave, which I also love. It also comes with the option of splitting your desired point cost between multiple people and playing the game in a co-op manner. All right? Now, why do I talk about co-op games? Well, honestly, I'm at a point in life where most of my friends who at one time played miniature games were scared off by competitive people that never went to tournaments. So instead of playing games where you use your tactical understanding of the game, it's did they bring an army that shuts mine down? They're more into board games and co-op games. And what I will say is this, and I've talked to the man personally. I hope to one day get an interview with him when I can afford his fee. Okay. Again, you can set up I have a donations page right there. Yeah, a donation, or you can join the Patreon so I can start, paying people to have interviews with me and get you guys some really cool content, because that's the stuff I want to do. And I had to give him a major compliment in the sense of his AI for NPC villains are one of the best I've ever seen. So much so that I use it in almost every other miniatures game, especially when I'm playing at home by myself. Um, it's a very good flow chart. It takes things like facing in line of sight into account. And how can I put this? It's a realistic thing, and the threat never goes away. Now let's talk about the game. Actually, let's talk about some of the resources that are available for this. Yes, you can use standees. Yes, you can use your Warhammer 40K miniatures if you want. Um, you can go to the 99-cent store and pick up green spacemen, not to be confused with green army men. Don't matter, it's a model agnostic game. You can also use miniatures that you get from yard sales or eBay, because there's always stuff from Aliens, A Great Day in the Core, old Star Wars games, sci-fi NPCs, or if you want to buy straight up new minis, there are a couple of things, okay? Number one, Osprey Games do, and I mean this, they do publish crews for the game, all right? No, I'm US and the rest of the world. Like, this is a crew for Stargrave, all right? And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 miniatures. One of them even kind of looks like it can be painted to look like Yondu. And this is $32 for this box set. And there's a few box sets from Stargrave that you can pick up. Male, female, you name it. Oh, it's the same one. Oh my God, really? Yeah, no wonder it's out of stock. See, on this page, that very same crew was $9. So this is a super, super, super affordable game. Okay? Seriously, seriously affordable game. And if you put together crews, you can spend a little while you can make up as many crews as you want and use the same miniatures. Now, there are some downsides to this game. One of the downsides is the rules are simple, which means they can be easily exploited. Okay? Hey, Mike, what's going on? Said no notification. Wait, no notifications just happened to queue up next after my audiobook. Oh, sweet. Yeah, I don't have 1,000 subscribers yet, so YouTube doesn't exactly go blah. But like I'm saying today, yeah, so with Stargrave, the gameplay is very simple, much like Rangers of Shadow Deep and Frostgrave, and that is this. It is a game played with the D20. You have your attack stat plus your D20 roll versus their defense stat plus a D20 roll, and the difference determines A, whether or not you hit, and if you do hit, the difference between their shields and your roll is how much damage they take. That's rough. Why is it rough? Well, I will tell you. Just like with Rangers of Shadow Deep, it's really easy for entire characters to get whacked by a freaking sweeping droid. Okay? If the sweeping droid has an attack of 3 and rolls a natural 20, then yeah, that is a big thing. Uh-oh, somebody's got a note. What's up, Daryl? Talk to me. Yeah, so essentially, if you beat their armor by 10 points, that's how much damage they're taking. But if the character only has 5 points of life, you see what happens. And of course, natural 20s are natural 20s. So that means they're critical hits and they tend to do double damage. So the game can get pretty brutal, okay? And this is, I suppose you can say, a price that you pay for playing the Osprey Joseph McCullough line, being Frostgrave, Ghost Archipelago, Stargrave, and Rangers of Shadow Deep. My friends call it the tyranny of D20, but that shouldn't be a detractor. That should not be a detractor. If anything, when I play this game, and I tend to play it solo a lot because, as I said, the AI in it is very easily trackable. Um, hmm. Oh, you were talking to Mike about the notification. All right, you guys do that. Just remember to put the at this person so I know to mind my own damn business when I'm looking at the comments. Um, so when you're playing these games, everything is a threat all the time. And I'm not gonna lie, I like that. I like games where victory cannot be assured no matter how much I min max. Okay? I really do dig that. I really do dig that a lot. And again, y'all know how I feel about sci-fi. I love me some science fiction. Now, given my 3D printer farm and all of my Patreons, specifically Apex miniatures and one page rules, I've got models for this stuff for days. So many days do I have models for this stuff. And of course, all the stuff that I've bought over the years between Hero Clicks, Marvel superhero games, I can recycle so many old minis. So many old miniatures for this game, which helps me with my 6-month mark. And for those of you wondering, if there is something laying around my house for more than 6 months and I never pick it up, I donate it or I throw it away. Okay? I give it away or I throw it away, but the key word in that is away. So, if you guys are interested in Stargrave, you can definitely check it out through Osprey Games. Okay? And again, this is just me talking about the games. I don't have anything to disclose. No one sponsors me on this except for my patrons, okay? And yeah, this again, it's a great game. It's very easy to understand and it comes with a whole bunch of expansions, okay? Expansions and campaigns and things like that. There is a lot of bookkeeping if that's what you're into. If you're not into bookkeeping like myself, then you can just play the game in a board game type way. You don't have to roll a campaign. So you can do head to head, you can do a quick skirmish, you can do solo play. What this game does not do though is it does not scale up for army level very well. Okay? This is a Saturday afternoon game, not a Saturday game. You can play it on a 3x3 foot board and have a good old time and still have time to eat and maybe go to the movies with your friends. So I highly literally this game is a solid full house. Okay, it's a full house. I highly recommend it. For less than the cost of a GW Mini, you can get this game, and it's carried at most game stores. You can pick it up on Amazon. You can buy it directly from Osprey. It is super accessible. As a matter of fact, let's see. One of these days, I'll have affiliate links. But let's see if we can find it on Amazon. Stargrave game. Woo! All right. Let's take a look, guys. Right here, we've got a mercenary crew for $35. Another mercenary crew for $35. A $30 book. A $26 book. Quarantine 37 is pretty cool. I have that one. We'll be talking about it another day. The core book for $27. And a whole bunch of other stuff. Not to mention pre-made teams. And again, since this is a model agnostic game, you can pick up stuff from Mantic, for from Dead Zone. You can pick up, what is this Mantic Enforcer Pathfinder? $22 for a crew with mechanical dogs. Okay? This particular game is made to be played. Oh, Cyberpunk minis for 12 bucks. Like seriously. This game has literally been made by a company that wants you to play their game. It's sitting up on my bookshelf all the time going, "Hey Solar, play with me. Put up one of the sci-fi boards that you have, since everything you do is modular, and play with me." And I go, "No, I have to edit videos, but later. Yes, later." And again, it's from the same company that makes Gaslands and from the same writer of Rangers of Shadow Deep, Ghost Archipelago, and of course Frostgrave. It's a great game. 8 out of 10. It's almost at that 10 level, but the tyranny of the D20 can make things a little grinding. There are battle reports all over YouTube for Frostgrave and Stargrave, and you guys can take a look at those and see if you like it. But truth be told, let's face it, I know I've spent 25 to 30 bucks on stuff way lower quality. So this is a game I truly recommend. I will be doing battle reports as soon as I can get my cameras worked out to where I won't have to spend 18 hours editing a 30-minute game. All right? But we'll be right back, and we'll talk about some solutions to the elitism and the gatekeeping that we find in nerd places. And I want to get some of your guys' opinions. So start thinking about questions, all right? We'll be back in a minute. Hi. So the non-subscribers are looking at a commercial. Maybe I should have a commercial for you guys. Thank you guys for subscribing. And if you've subscribed using Jeff Bezos's money, like I recommend, that's something that you're going to have to re-up every month. So make sure to take a look at the subscription and subscribe to the Twitch channel with your Amazon Prime gaming account. It literally costs you nothing. It does not cost you a dime, but it helps me live on something other than bird feed, post-it notes, and my own tears to wash it down with. Also, if I could entice you guys, and I might be able to entice you guys, to head on over to tpublic.com and get yourselves a coffee mug. Lil Soul drinking coffee. You might ask, well, why don't you drink coffee out of one of your own mugs? I actually haven't had the disposable income to buy one myself. But we got Lil Soul drinking coffee. Isn't that awesome? You could also get Lil Soul in wizard form. If you're all about that fantasy life, boom, there we are. Later on, we'll be having Lil Saul the Viking. And of course, if you just like our channel and what we do, just grab a plain old back in the deck coffee mug. What have you got to lose? Okay, again, the stuff that we have is really cool. It's 15 bucks. It's less than this week's game. So, thank you guys. So, what are some solutions? What are some of our solutions to elitism and gatekeeping in game spaces? Well, I really recommend a couple of different things. Cook my post-it notes and margarine with a little, post-it notes with a little margarine and salt. That does work, but I'm more a cinnamon and sugar kind of guy. That's a thing for me. One day I'll have enough patrons and enough subscribers here on Twitch to replace the post-it notes with 99-cent store bread. Yay. But what do we do about that elitism? All right, what do we do about that? Well, it's actually pretty simple, but not always easy. And I always like to differentiate between that. I facilitate a lot of play. All right. I have a code of conduct that I put out there, such as if you're not comfortable explaining your joke, then it's not funny and shouldn't be said at my table. Okay? Um, I mean, seriously, it's that easy. um, and show people the kind of respect that you want. And the golden rule of back in the deck: do unto others as you would have them do to your kids. All right? Meaning, if you would want to punch somebody in the face for acting that way to your 10-year-old daughter, you better not be doing it. Because that's when I bust out the bad hammer and start speaking 4th century BC Norwegian. I do not play around with that kind of thing. But also allow room for grace, forgiveness, because not everybody who makes a terrible remark is doing it out of malice. Sometimes they don't know that it's offensive or why it's offensive because no one's ever told them. They just abandon, But to always remember that we gather to play games and to have fun and to spend time with friends and make new friends. I know it's such a weird concept for the 21st century. What? Meet new people that we're not already comfortable with? Yeah, because we're always aging. And we can either have that aging be a conduit for withering or for growth. That's our call, okay? I prefer to grow. I want to be huge. I want to step around entire planets going, Primarchs and 40K got nothing on me, and I'm a caring person. Wah! But there are a lot of people that want to keep the gates up because they're afraid of the wrong people getting in. And I get that, okay? I really do. But here's the thing. There is always a risk that someone's going to cheat. Always a risk that someone's going to try and hijack the experience, okay? Always. But risk is not certainty, okay? And yeah, the door may be open, but that doesn't mean that a person that walks through the door will never be able to walk out of it, okay? This is where boundaries and rules, and not the social contract, because I don't believe in anything that's not openly communicated, because, I see all the colors of the spectrum. But if someone comes in and acts a fool, they get the chance to prove that they got a little sense. And if they don't show that they got sense, they're asked to leave. It really is that simple. Just because the door is open doesn't mean anybody can move in. They can just come in. And that's a big thing. Now, I know right now in the 21st century, awkward is the term of the day. Uncomfortable is the term of the day. And this is where I'm about to piss a lot of people off. Ready? No one has a right to be comfortable all the time. Okay? We have a right to be comfortable. We have a right to our dignity. All right? But just because we have a right to it doesn't mean that we'll never have to fight for it. Okay? And if you castle up in your life because you're afraid to fight for it, or you're afraid that you might have to and you might lose, then you don't really have it. You only have the illusion of it. Okay? So that is a really big thing. Sometimes people are going to come to your gaming tables or your comic book club and all of that jazz, and they're going to act a fool. But that doesn't have to chase you off, and they don't have to stay there. Okay? You can ask them to leave. And if you can't ask them to leave the building, you can definitely tell them not to talk to you. Okay? I mean, seriously speaking, that's a really big thing. This should not come as a shock to anyone watching this channel, but I don't get along with everyone I meet. Okay? I really don't. But I don't avoid places because someone there is going to rob me of my dignity. Okay? I know that almost everywhere I go, somebody's going to try. But unless that safety boundary gets crossed to where I'm physically in danger of violence or arrest, I go anyway. Because I'm alive, I'm a person, and barreling myself up in my house because I'm afraid that somebody is going to hurt me is not living. That's literally imprisonment. You know, it's not punitive imprisonment, but a gilded cage is still a cage. You know, a locked door is still a locked door, regardless of what side of it you're on. And I don't want to live like that. Okay. And that's the thing. I don't have a right to be comfortable all the time. I have a right to my dignity, and I do have the right to be comfortable in things I enjoy. But that doesn't mean that that right's going to be respected, and that doesn't mean that those rights are never going to be challenged. And sometimes I got to fight for my right to be around. Because that's life, guys. That literally is life. You know, sometimes you're going to have conflict with people. It sucks. It really does suck. But if you stand your ground with your dignity and you treat people with grace, you'll win that game in the long term. I promise you that. I didn't believe it when I was young, and I got tired of fighting for my own identity and my right to wear whatever I want. You know, people used to tell me when my trench coats were my comfort tools, you know, take that off, you're making me hot. And I'm like, then you're not nearly as alpha and as strong as you like to make yourself out to be if what I'm wearing is affecting you physically. You know, did I mention I got into a lot of fights? You know, but you don't got to be snarky and as much of a jerk as I was. But yeah, you will have to stand up for yourself, because there will be people who base themselves on how much they can control others. And they don't have a right to control you in the same way that you don't have a right to always be comfortable. But sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes a confrontation is necessary. I hate it. I hate it. I do not like fighting verbally. I do not like fighting emotionally. And I really don't like fighting physically. You know, I got good at all three, and I don't like hurting people. January 20th at a spot called Requiem somewhere around Anaheim. New board game club. Sweet! Requiem. I believe I know Requiem. Well, Requiem was a dance club at one point. I might actually head out there. You say on the 20th of January? I might reach out to them and maybe do a feature, because I do have the power of a platform. Isn't that fun? And I'll get to meet you in person, Mike. Unless I already have met you in person and you're watching the show because you got one of my cards at some point. But either way, it'd be cool to meet or see you. Now, before we move on to the very next thing, I want to take a couple of questions. Now, I remember Knights of OG, if they're still here, had a story for me. What's going on, GM? How you doing? Major shouts out to M10, one of my GMs. Yeah, you said that you had a story of something earlier today, and I said save it for the later segments of the show. Well, here we are. So hit me up. But yeah, a new board game club, Requiem in Anaheim. Let's take a look. Yeah, let's take a look while you guys are hitting me with your questions. Requiem. Ooh, excuse me. I'm such a pig. Requiem Cafe Anaheim. Where is that? It sounds really familiar. Oh, wow. Look at this thing. I have a website. Look at my website. Oh, San Clemente Street. Yeah, where? Let's look that up on the map. Boop boop boo doo 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 doo. Doop boo doo 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 doo. This is how to do it, guys. This is how to look things up on a map. There we go. Harbor and Broadway. Oh, interesting. Okay, it's on Harbor and Broadway. In between Lincoln and Santa Ana Boulevard. That is, hang on, that looks like south of Lincoln? Yep, south of Lincoln. Which means on the other side of Ball. Huh, I used to live not too far from there. Okay. On January 20th. Well, we'll have to check that out. Yeah, we will definitely have to check that out. So let's see. Met them. So what was that? Stopped by a new comic and game store, a big one, and I wanted to see how much they support indie. I met the manager and told him I own Black Nerd swag. He was excited. So I explained I wanted to gather some connections with comic and game stores because I teach creators how to market their work, and they wanted to be in comic stores. Okay, how'd it turn out? Like, all right, cool. Like, let me know. Let me know. And let's see here. Oh, 520 Mike. Already have. Got a bid peak card. Sweet. Oh, at Beard Brothers. Okay. That makes all the sense in the world. Sorry, man. You're in Pedro. You're on that side of the 110. I'm in the middle of the 110. Okay. Oh, okay. You're gonna see how it goes, Knights of G. Yeah. Yeah, and for the record, Mike, yeah, I'm off Manchester. You're at the end. The end. We might be able to carpool if we met up in Long Beach or something. North Long Beach. But yeah. But yeah, that actually seems pretty cool. Let me know how that goes. Okay, because if we're talking another independent comic creator, or a store that's friendly to comic creators of color, that looks like they go into the back in the deck green book, which is awesome. Okay, that would really be awesome. So yeah, keep me posted on how that goes, because we're talking good stores all over the place. And if you guys aren't people of color, women, LGBTQ plus, differently abled, neurodivergent, or fiscally disenfranchised, and you're watching this, I wanna say something in case you guys think I'm getting political. Okay, the reason that we cater to those aforementioned categories is because places that are cool for all of those folks tend to be cool for everybody, including middle class white dudes and middle class white women. Okay. So that is a really big thing. There's lots of places that we can't go because, well, let me tell you a story. There was a comic book store in Long Beach that I loved. I loved it. I'm not going to say the name of it because I don't love it anymore. Okay. I like the Culver City location, but if I said the name of the one in Culver City, then you guys would know the one in Long Beach. And so here's the thing. The owner of the store was great. He's a really cool dude. Then he expanded and went to another city about 40 miles away. And he left the store in the hands of a couple of dudes. Now, one of the dudes was pretty big, had really short hair, and wore a bomber jacket all the time. And I noticed that he had Doc Martens with white laces one day. And he looked like the muscle. And the actual manager of the store didn't really like it when girls came in and treated me like a second class person, and even made fun of me for liking superhero comics more than I like indie comics. Again, bomber jacket, Doc Martens, white laces. Okay. Um, Now there's no guarantee that any old white person could walk into that store, but there is a larger guarantee that my daughter wouldn't be able to without being harassed in one way or another, or without getting terrible customer service, or getting kicked out, or worse. And when I was coming up, there were a lot more places like that than a lot of people want to believe. Okay. The old Games Workshop store at the block at Orange back in 2003, when I first wanted to learn Warhammer 40K, was just like that. The main gaming store in the city of Burbank, just like that. Which kind of made sense because the city of Burbank was just like that. So, so when I find places that like nerds because they're nerds and not because they come from the same families or the right families from the right countries and the right religions, I got to spread the word, because the people who are cool to everybody, and the ones that push out certain groups of people, it tends to only be a matter of time before anybody that would like what we do here would be on that list. Okay. Yeah, hit me up in the whispers or send me an email, Mike, and we'll work that stuff out. Okay. Um so yeah. So that's why I focus on this stuff. We are not discriminatory. Okay, we accept everybody at our BidP events, and there's one that's going to come up probably late March, early April that I'm working on. I haven't announced it yet because I haven't gotten what I needed to make sure I secure the venue and all that stuff. But yeah, everybody's welcome to come in, and hopefully everyone is well behaved enough to stay. But as deckers, we don't treat people poorly. However, as deckers, we came together because we've been treated poorly in more places than not. Okay? And that's what we do. That's why we're here. That's what we're here for. You know. I look at it like law enforcement officer theory. I don't believe that all cops are bad, but all cops wear the same uniform, so how do I know which ones are and which ones aren't? Okay. So yeah, I mean that's the really big thing. So but yeah. So moving forward, okay? Moving forward, I want us to really think about gatekeeping, what it looks like, and how we can intervene when it's happening. Okay. When there are gates being put up in places that I'm at, I kick the gate down. Okay. That's just what I do. But keep in mind, I'm Generation X, which means I'm old enough not to care. All right. A lot of you guys will get there, but I really don't care if I'm not very popular. If somebody isn't allowed at a table or something like that, I'm like, dude, come on over here and play with me. It's cool. I can do that. And I don't care if it makes me unpopular, because unless I break the law or hurt people or make folks uncomfortable, they can't kick me out of the store. So yeah, I mean, that is a really big thing. But people are people. And as I said a little earlier today, remember, no one has a right to be comfortable all the time, but we do all have a right to have dignity and to enjoy the stuff that we like, okay? And if someone comes around insulting us or being cruel in order to make us not enjoy something, we also have the right to stand up for ourselves, okay? Exercise our own dignity and let them know that they can't push us out, okay? And understand this, I'm in these fights all the time. Not gonna lie. Not a big fan of some of the Star Wars movies that came out after 1985, but I am a fan of some of the movies that came out in 1985. And I have those debates with people, you know, because I hear people saying, oh no, this movie was crap. Why? Because it was poorly written. Oh yeah, and A New Hope was like a literary masterpiece. My God, look at all the Pulitzer Prizes that there were. Well, they did something and it was an anachronism that broke my thing. I'm like, is there heaven and hell in Star Wars? What do you mean? I'm like, yeah, was Luke Skywalker a Han Solo Christian? Because Han told somebody that he'd see him in hell. And if this was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, how would they know about heaven and hell? You know? Um, again, I like letting people like things. Let people like stuff. But when a person wants to bring their hate at things that other people love, that's when I get in the way. When a person says you're not welcomed because you don't like it for the same reason I like it, I'm like, well, guess what? You can't kick me out and I say they're welcome with me. You know, that's how I get past the gatekeeping. That's how I open the doors. Sometimes it gets kind of lonely. However, even though it doesn't give me all the company that I want, I know that I'm who I want to be, and I open the door for people to be who they are as well. Okay? So, with all that, if you guys got any questions or comments or all of that stuff, then do me the service of opening up your email and typing in backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK @gmail.com. You can also reach out to me on Twitter @backinthedeck, at Instagram @backinthedeck, on TikTok @bidp. And if you're still on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure everybody and their mother still has an account, primarily to talk to their mothers, then join the group Deckers on the Book, where we talk to each other, show each other the stuff that we're doing, and all of the stuff that we are working on, because this is some really cool stuff, and I have a very cool community. Speaking of cool communities, let me see if I can find it. I'm not sure. Nope, I can't find it. And neither Zan or Neon are here, but that's okay, because Monday there will be more invitations to the Discord coming out. Let's see here. The best one X-Wing fighter. They wouldn't have had Alphabet to know it looks like an X. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, seriously. That's a really big one. I'm going to have to use that one the next time somebody gives me a crap argument against the Daisy Wrigley series of Star Wars. But if anybody tells you guys that you guys can't like what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, your disabilities, or your budget, you can just look them dead in the eye and tell them to take whatever card they're playing on you and put it back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you guys for joining me, and we will see you guys next week on the dark side of the room. I need a hype train. From the 15th on, so 236, 48, 1 penny, 39, nothing. 470. Mm-hmm. Hey, what's going on, Glenn?
It's going okay, sir. Sorry, I was just trying to get your attention. You were still streaming.